Well, this week on the Markcast, I get fired up because we're talking USFL coaches and why Brian Woods probably made the worst hire out of any coach that he could ever bring in.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
Tell you who it is.
This is a doozy. We have USFL. We have all the head coaches, training camps, the list of things we still need to learn about the USFL before they kick off on April 16th. What else do we have going on, Paul?
We have slight XFL news, but we have a big interview. We have a big interview that Reid does with Vernon Adams.
Exactly, man. We want to put the best foot forward each year, man. I'm a winner, man. I've never in my life had a losing record in my life as a starting quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So I don't like that losing stuff. I don't like that 7-7, that tied. I don't like that. And I want the best coaches, the best players. I want the best people around me who want to win, man. Our owner, he's a winner. Our head coach is a winner. GM, president, all these guys are winners. When we're putting the people into place, we going to be good, man. Everybody, some people are saying this and that, or we got to win right now. It takes a building process, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's what we're getting to.
Yeah, Vernon comes on the show. I found out he's actually like my neighbor. He lives 20 miles away. And Vernon's great. We're talking all about the Anthony Cavillo hire. We're talking about Jeff Reinbold going to the Alouettes. We're talking all about, Vernon's journey back, becoming the face of the franchise in Montreal. A real good interview. And then I do think it's good XFL stuff. We might be moving to Mexico. The Mexico Dragons might be a thing. Viva Mexico. You boys like Mexico? Right? Was that Super Troopers?
Yeah, you should. Whenever we cover the XFL going in to Mexico, you should use that as the thumbnail for the episode. I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm just going to make that suggestion. Hopefully you deliver on that. We're also talking about CFL stuff. We do talk about Vernon Adams. We do talk about CFL stuff. Some wrapping up of the things. Some bulletin board material already going back and forth between some teams, getting ready for next year. We'll discuss that as well. That's happening all this week on the Markcast. Good Friday morning, everyone. Welcome to the Markcast, the premier place to get your USFL, that's what we're leading with today, your CFL, your XFL, and whatever that league is that Reid owns the rights to that league as well.
And then we actually have MLFB news today. We have a Fangirl football tidbit at the end of the show that's going to blow your mind.
Okay.
We have everything.
I'm looking forward to it. A great show coming up with Vernon Adams, the Alouettes quarterback. And Reid, you found out some interesting stuff about Vernon.
Yeah, well, first off, Paul, do you notice anything different about me?
Oh, yeah. You got the braces off. Is a tooth staying put? Is it all good?
So this is still a fake tooth. I have a clear retainer I have to wear 23 hours a day, except for right now when I do the podcast, and then I have to put it back in. But I am braces free for the time being. I'm very excited about that.
When is it everything done?
February, we're going to do gum surgery, and then probably another 2 months after that. It's still a long process, but the braces are gone. So
over under, you'll have it all done before Grey Cup next year.
Oh, well, yeah, but it'll be a year because I broke the tooth in April. So it'll be probably about a year process to get it all. I would say by the time we get it done. Yeah, so.
All right. So the title of the show is the XFL's International Love.
Yeah. The thumbnail, I was going to do a whole bit. I was going to text Paul. I have Pitbull on the top of the Empire State Building with the XFL. We're talking about some XFL expansion stuff. Here's what I'm going to say. We have our big Vernon Adams interview. I know everyone's tuning in for that. All of our CFL news, we are leading with USFL and XFL. So if you are like Reid, I cannot even stand to hear about the XFL. I'm going to time code everything. Vernon's great, about 25 minutes. Vernon's a great interview. We have all your CFL stuff, but that's just the order of the show today. We got to go. The world gave us new USFL head coaches today. It's given us training camps. It's given us XFL in Mexico speculation. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
Cool stuff. And it's funny that it's called International Love when someone internationally slid in my DMs the other day. Right?
Romantically or professionally?
We're friends. We're chatting. There's some chatting going on.
Is this
I won't say where it is. I won't say where she is. There's some chatting going on. There's some back and forth going on.
Well, there you go.
It's cool.
It's a new year. What is it? New year, new me, right?
Yeah, all the time. New year, new me.
Anyway, so please like and subscribe. We're still doing our Grey Cup giveaway. We have added a ton of subscribers this week. Once we said that Vernon Adams was coming on the show, I think we are going to have even more subscribers now with all this USFL stuff. I've approved about 80 people into the USFL Facebook groups here in the last day since all this stuff. So please like and subscribe. But yeah, that's it. Rundown today, USFL, XFL, Vernon, and then CFL stuff.
Very cool stuff. Loaded show, of course. The big thing that happened this morning, well, yesterday morning, I should say, since you're hearing this on Friday, is that only 4 of the 8 head coaches are announced. And before we get into that, let me just say this. I saw you tweet out that that's the only reason you watch Colin Cowherd is to get these coaches' names. But Joy Taylor's also on the show, and she's great to look at.
Well, Joy's also much more pleasant to listen to and insightful and has educated takes. And I mean, the whole bit of it. I've never watched as much Colin Cowherd as we have with this. It came out. USFL said that they were going to announce the head coaches. We are now officially on the media release. We're part of all that for the USFL. So they said that we would get part of the teams. So we got the 4 teams. They also officially announced 100 days till kickoff. We had talked about the April 15th Friday kickoff, looking like April 16th now. Listener Van on his Android phone said it was Sunday, but I think that was an Android. Sometimes countdowns and it's the next day, and you're like, no, it's Van got very confused. Van rebooked flights and stuff. No, Van, it's April 16th. We're going to do all that. And there is a new countdown timer on the USFL website too. So you can, at any time of any second of the day, you could go on to USFL2.com and see that countdown.
Very cool stuff. So 4 of the head coaches were announced out of the 8. First and foremost, the New Jersey Generals have hired Mike Riley, formerly we know him from Oregon State. As a Pac-12 fan myself, I had to deal with Mike Riley a lot. He really took Oregon State and brought them up quite a few levels. And so much so that when he left in 98 to go to, and you're missing one here, he actually went to coach the San Diego Chargers when they were in San Diego. That's where he left Oregon State to go to San Diego to coach in an NFL franchise. And then he came back to Oregon State after, flailing out as the Chargers head coach. Great resume for him. He's won 2 Grey Cups. I'm sure our Canadian fans would be great.
That's crazy.
Great to bring that up. He's pretty much coached everywhere. He was, with the San Antonio Commanders and the AAF. It's great to see Mike get another chance. I think he's a great, fantastic coach. What he did at Oregon State, it's very hard to not only convince kids to come to Corvallis, it's also hard to recruit against Phil Knight and the Nike money that goes into Oregon. And Mike Riley did a great job at Oregon State. So it's a good ad for the USFL to get a guy like Mike Riley to sign up. So, and that's a great hire for Brian Woods and his crew to get that level of coach.
Well, it's weird because there was no Bob Stoops. There was no Kevin Gilbert. There was a lot of chatter this week that there would be half the teams would be XFL coaches, all this stuff, right? You don't have your Jerry Glanvilles, right? You don't have your Hal Mummies. You don't have your June Jones. You don't have a lot of the guys, whether that's good or bad. You don't have a lot of the guys. I would, as opposed to Jerry Glanville coming back in for an 18th time, I would much rather let's see what Mike Riley has in the tank. He was also, and I kind of forgot this in my Hayes stream because we lived through the original XFL 2020. We didn't cover it. He was the OC of the XFL Dragons. He missed the season because of personal reasons, and then the season ended. So we didn't remember Jim Zorn was play calling and being the coach and didn't know how many points, extra points were. He was like, oh, we're going to go for 3. We're going to go for 3. So,
right. I don't know much about Bart Andrus. So I can't really speak to that. It's clear that he did coach in the spring league, so they've already got some familiarity with him. He was with the Argos for a season. I don't know much about Bart. I don't know where, what his pedigree is, but looks like a solid hire. Maybe, not quite the resume of a Mike Riley or someone that's coming up that we're going to talk about in a second.
Yeah.
But you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so Bart was with Team 9, so that was that extra XFL team. Remember, there was the original 8. So what's good about Bart is I think a lot of these coaches, maybe people that were asked, and that we've done a lot of chatter with some of the people that you would imagine I've done chatter with online, offline, like in the messages and stuff. I think when the coaches found out, like, oh, we're going to have 5 weeks to get ready, and like maybe this is what the salaries are. We don't know the salaries. Maybe you're getting people that are okay with working for a little less and working with a little less time. So if you're like Bart Andrus and you've done the spring league and you're like, oh, I kind of get that, I can get a team together in a month. Maybe you get Bob Stoops and he's like, why are you? I can't. Bob's like Southern, right? He's like Texas. Like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to do that. So I could just see you getting maybe not like the big hot shot. I mean, we'll get through all the names, and then I want to see what you think is the biggest name. But anyway, Bart is good because he's good with that, the quick turnaround with like the XFL and the Spring League.
Something that hasn't been confirmed yet is the rumors that Gene Chizik from Auburn, most notably from Auburn, he was the head coach there. I believe he's won a national championship. Yep, that's correct. He's won a national championship as a head coach at Auburn. That was with Cam Newton. So Gene Chizik is rumored to be the head coach general manager of Birmingham. That hasn't been confirmed yet, but his Wikipedia page pretty much has confirmed that he's going to do it.
Yeah, so that came out today. ESPN leaked, or yesterday, whatever you listen. ESPN came out and they said it was going to be Gene, it was going to be Kevin, Todd, and then Bart. They didn't have Mike on there. And during the day, Gene tweeted, because he was tagged in all these tweets, and I'm sure he woke up and was like, what is happening? And he basically came out and he was like, we've been talking, nothing's finalized yet. So the joke today in watching the Colin Cowherd show is because it was so late in the show that there was actual jokes being made like, well, are we waiting on Gene to sign the contract? Like, is this why we've pushed this? Like, we've gone to hour 2, we've gone to hour 3. Because it really did seem like Colin's like, hey, let's talk about Baker Mayfield again. Let's talk. And we're like, we've done 3 segments on Baker Mayfield. Like, why are we doing? But it really seemed like they kept pushing it. And even when they did the announcement, it wasn't a full division. It was 2 North coaches and 2 South, where you would think like you would just announce the North of it. Like, these are weird teams. Like, why are we announcing New Jersey, Philadelphia, Birmingham, or Gamblers, and then Bandits? Like, it just doesn't, it's just weird. It seemed like Colin was a little thrown today too. Like, he was on his phone a lot during the show, like maybe getting notes like, hey, we don't have Gene yet.
Maybe that's the point. Maybe like the other 4 haven't officially agreed to terms yet. Possibly. One of the ones that did agree to terms is my arch. Geez.
When I saw you tweet, I go, I'm glad you have takes.
Yeah, I saw you go back and forth on Twitter about this. Kevin Sumlin, I know him as Kevin Rumlin. Look, alcoholism is a bad. I shouldn't be poking fun at this, but literally, this guy took a paycheck in Tucson to drink and not give a shit, pardon my French, about coaching the University of Arizona Wildcats. It was a stopgap feature, like he was let go from Texas A&M, and Arizona, not being a prominent football school, always hires these retreads until, I don't even know if until recently is a good thing, because Jed Fish down there in Tucson, he's got a great atmosphere and environment for the school that no other coaches really had for forever. Like, I've been following University of Football, Arizona football since I was a child. Dick Tomey really wasn't as friendly with the media. When Dick Tomey left, they brought in this guy named John Makovic, who was a real asshole. I'm sorry, I'm being really vulgar tonight, but John Makovic was terrible. And then they brought in Mike Stoops to replace him. Mike Stoops got Arizona closer, but didn't quite get him there. Then they hired Rich Rodriguez. And Rich Rodriguez, had he been given more time, and he wasn't like when he got fired for a Me Too issue, apparently that wasn't completely accurate. Like, he got fired without, all the facts coming out. And sure enough, he probably shouldn't have been terminated. So because they terminated him late in the year, they had to rely on a retread in Kevin Sumlin to come in. And we all were in favor because we knew what Kevin Sumlin did at University of Houston. That was his first head coaching gig, was being the head coach at Houston. He did great things at Houston. Didn't do quite great things at A&M, but everybody thought, well, Kevin Sumlin will come into Arizona and he'll bring in a style that we haven't dealt with. And we're like, when Kevin Sumlin gets hold of Khalil Tate in Tucson, Kevin Sumlin's going to make him a Heisman winner. Because he was already on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Khalil Tate was. They were talking about how he was going to be the first person in University of Arizona history to be like a real Heisman contender. And his numbers, like he was like, people were worried he was going to leave school early. But what Kevin Sumlin and I believe it was Noel Mazzone, it was his offensive coordinator, what they did to Khalil Tate was just despicable. They ruined him. And now he's playing wide receiver probably. I don't know if he's still playing wide receiver for the Eagles, but that's where he went. He was drafted by the Eagles to be a wide receiver as opposed to being that type of Michael Vick player that's, dual threat that we saw. I mean, you go back and watch old Khalil Tate when he was under Rich Rod's system, you'll be blown away. But Kevin Rumlin ruined him, ruined any goodwill the fans had in Tucson. And I am just worried that he's not going to take this seriously because he's already got a check. He's set for life. He doesn't care. And I'm worried about anybody who's fans of the Houston Gamblers having a coach that doesn't care. That's my big takeaway from this.
Well, I saw comments that people in Houston, specifically, and I don't obviously know all that backstory of that, but it's like people in Houston don't really love him, even though he coached in Houston, right? That this isn't like, oh, we're going to bring in Jim Zorn, right, to Seattle. It's like, oh, we love Jim Zorn. I mean, it's not as cut and dry there. I didn't live through all that like you did.
Right. There are coaches that coach because they want to make a change in the bag, and getting the bag is a secondary benefit. Nick Saban, probably a good example of that. He gets a big bag, but he wants to coach kids.
You mean like bag is in money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nick Saban wants to coach kids. That's his primary reason to do it. He wants to win. Kevin Sumlin just wants to get a flipping bag. He doesn't care about changing kids' lives. And now he's got to deal with adults. And he's never coached adults.
That's true.
That's the thing. That's what Urban Meyer ran into.
Let's ask Urban how that went.
Like, you can mold children that are 18 and you can teach them how to be scummy people like Urban Meyer is. But then now Kevin Sumlin's coming into a situation where he's dealing with grown adults who have played at college level. And they're not going to quite take to his, if he's going to have an adjustment period. And this is a terrible hire, Brian. It's a terrible hire. I'm going to flat out say this is a terrible hire. I don't think Kevin Sumlin deserves to be around any football program, whether it be high school, college, pros, anything. He's a terrible coach. And now you're going to give him another shot at this. Whatever.
I heard his last game was like 70-7 or something. I've seen a lot of comments today about
that. Was embarrassing. As an Arizona fan, when you lose to that school, Arizona State, Tempe Normal Teachers College, 70-7, you should never coach a game in your life again. And it's bullshit. I'm sorry. I can't believe this guy got another chance. I can't believe it.
That's good. Max will be happy. We've got Ang Max says, I hope we get some Paul hot takes on these coaches. I said, Max,
hate Kevin Rumlin.
That's good. So Todd Haley, I've also heard mixed things about him because I heard, Todd here, and I'm looking at his stuff, right? We have, he was with New York and Chicago and Dallas, wide receivers coach. And then he was the head coach of the Chiefs. Wasn't great there. He was with the Steelers. I know listener Zach wasn't a fan of him there. And then he was with the coordinator with the Browns and they got fired by week 8. You got to be doing something bad to get fired by the Browns back in 18 in week 8, right? I mean,
I think he was scapegoated in that situation. That's pretty inaccurate thing that happened when it comes to I think was that the Hugh year? I believe that was when Hugh was coaching Cleveland and they were looking to scapegoat people because Cleveland wasn't doing what it should be doing. Cleveland's a mess. Todd Haley's a great offensive coordinator. Head coach, not sure. It's like, who's that guy that I hated? Norv Turner.
That one guy.
I hate a lot of people. Norv Turner. I don't hate him. I just strongly despise him. Norv Turner was a guy who made Troy Aikman. That and the offensive line that Dallas had during those magical years. Norv Turner was a guy that was Troy Aikman's quarterback coach, and he kept moving up. It's the Peter principle. You get promoted to the highest level of your incompetence. That's what works. We saw that. We see that in corporate America. There are people that get jobs, and you're like, well, how did they get that job? Peter principle. You get hired, promoted to the highest level of your incompetence. It's a true thing. So Todd is a great offensive coordinator. Head coach, not sure.
So you think Mike Riley's a slam dunk? The other three, well, Bart is a little odd, right? Because CFL, he did a lot. But he was in NFL Europe. I mean, he's had a good pedigree over there. People will say, I know Bart Andrus fans that will say. Also, there are people that say he's not a big enough name. But like I said, I think fitting in the system is more important there. But you think that Mike Riley is the only good of these four?
I mean, Mike, if they actually got Gene Chizik, I think that's a good hire for them.
Okay, so we have
I think Gene Chizik, if he's actually confirmed he's going to do it, I think it's a good hire. I think Gene's a good hire. I think Mike Riley's a good hire. Kevin Sumlin is just the worst thing. And Todd Haley, I mean, he could do good. I'm not going to knock it completely right now. But Kevin Sumlin is going to just, oh my God.
So the three were still waiting. So again, Gene Chizik isn't confirmed, but that would be for the Stallions. So the Maulers, Jenna's team, the Maulers, Panthers, Zach's team's the Panthers, and then Breakers, which is your team. I mean, if you don't forget that. So that we are waiting for that. I love this though. We have this quote from Brian Woods. Today is a monumental day, new USFL. We hit 100 days, whatever. He's talking about the coaches. They all share our belief in high quality spring football, and we are honored to have them lead their respective teams this year. Exclamation point here. We can't wait to hit the field. Exclamation point. That's the least Brian Woods thing about. Like, could you ever imagine Brian being like, "We're just gonna hit the field"? Like Brian
doesn't seem like a cheerleader like that to me.
You think he's out there like rah rah?
I don't.
That's what I mean.
I don't ever get that vibe from Brian.
Yeah, I was like, Brian never talks in exclamation points. Right. Brian's like, please don't include me in your article. Anyway, so that is the coaches. I would imagine a Colin Cowherd redux next week. I would just imagine they announce Wednesday again, but we'll see. We don't know yet when they're going to announce the other ones, but they are out there.
Tell Brian to call me. I got to talk to him about this Kevin Sumlin thing. Okay. USFL Training Camps starting March 21st. Player selection meeting, I assume that's the draft, is February 22nd.
Yeah, even in the thumbnail for the episode tonight, it's like the USFL draft. Because I tweeted at Eric, who's like the EVP of whatever. I go, he's the EVP of like Fox and USFL. I go, not one person ever said, I want to watch a player selection meeting, or I want to read about a player selection meeting. I want to read about a draft. Even if it's not a draft, just call it a draft. Call it a draft.
You don't have to like change how the wheel is invented to get people to pay attention and care about your product. Just call it a draft.
Just call it a draft.
This is so weird.
Yeah. Anyway. So XFL news.
They hired Kevin Sumlin.
Yeah. So we got all this. So Mark, we're all on the press release now. Mark got this memo. So training camps are going to begin Monday, March 21st. Even though the USFL. There's been so much crazy stuff the last few days. I can't even fill everyone in on this, but like the USFL has tweeted 2 different times, like different calendars circling dates and being like, March 21st, like we're kicking off, but it's like the April calendar, but then it's showing like a Wednesday and saying like the social media people with the USFL are crazy. Training camps are going to begin March 21st. Players will be employed directly by the USFL. We know that there's going to be 8 teams in a 10-week season. This is interesting. Players will be employees and receive base compensation as well as win bonuses. That's very similar to what the XFL did, right? If you win a game, you get $1,200 or whatever.
Right.
What do you think about this? Each team is going to have a 38-man roster and 7 practice squad people.
Okay.
That's small.
I mean, it is very small. You're talking about basically, when you talk about like squads and teams, you're like, 11, what is that?
22.
Basically 2 teams and then defensive unit with some additional defensive players, essentially.
Okay.
That's thin. I wonder if they chose that low of a number.
Save money.
Because they know they're going to be competing in draft pools with the XFL next year and the CFL this year. I wonder if they said, okay, let's just carry 45 men, 38 play and 7 are practice. Let's just carry that low number because we're now in talent pools with these other spring football leagues and the CFL, of course.
Okay, I'm going to drop this for you right now. I was going to say this later in the show. So how many days away did we say the USFL was from kicking off?
100.
Okay. Guess who also announced today that they are 100 days away from kicking off?
Who?
Fantasy football announced today they're 100. So fantasy football is kicking off the same Saturday the US. I mean, I could scream into a wall. Really?
And the thing is they're like, and the worst part about God, they're so frustrating because the worst part about it is like, we're not even football anyway. Then why are you starting on the same day the USFL is starting if you're not competing?
You're going to get the same players. You want the same I mean, I'm like, you guys, I'm like, that is insane. You're even less so. Like, so people are talking. I have a list here coming up about the things we don't know about the USFL. We know even less about fantasy football, and they're kicking off in 100 days.
Wow.
Anyway, the players must have played 2 years in high school. There's going to be the draft. We talked about that. Real quick, no open tryouts at all. Anyone that's going to be involved in the USFL, they're going to talk to your agent or they're going to reach out to you directly. There's been a lot of markets, people emailing. I get people messaging, trying to send tapes in. You have to go through your agent. They'll talk to your agent, all that stuff. Right. Breezing through this stuff. The one cool thing the USFL is doing is they are going to, if you go through a couple specific colleges, the Strategic Education, Strayer University and Capella University, I believe they're both online academies, accredited. They will help pay for your schooling because they're trying to get younger players. The XFL did this with Kenny Robinson with the Battlehawks. That was pointed out. But the point I got about this is like, if we're going to be doing little benefits, if I'm the XFL or the USFL, it's like if you're working at Facebook or Google, right? And they're like, oh, we got better snacks. Like we got better snacks. We're going to pay for your insurance. We're going to give you Orca passes. Like what little benefits can we do to get you in our league?
I like this idea.
What do you think?
I like this idea a lot. It's actually a really good idea. It's like a lot of these players just think they're going to go to the NFL. They don't finish school and now they can. But I mean, at the same time, like there are so many players that can go back to school at the school they were originally rolled in. And they could, let's be honest, these players, if they flame out in the NFL, they go back to college to get their degrees. They're not really going to pay for anything either in those situations either. Because there's going to be boosters going to be like, I remember that one guy that was great for us his freshman year. And then he went, the NFL flamed out. Well, he's coming back to school. Boosters are going to cover it. I mean, we know what's happening in college sports. And I think another thing that might change this in terms of people, in terms of this being a drawing point, let's say, where a kid can go, well, I'm a freshman in college. I can go to USFL and I can make money and get a degree from Capella University. Well, now colleges allow you to license your name, image, and likeness. So you don't necessarily need to jump to the pros right now. You could necessarily be a great player, stay in college all 4 years, and still make plenty of money licensing your name, image, and likeness. So that might be in a short term, that might be a short-term benefit to the USFL. But in the long term, when this NIL thing really starts going off for colleges, it might not be as much of a draw. Where, okay, I'm going to go get a degree from Capella University and play in a pro league, as opposed to I'm going to go to Alabama and get an Alabama degree because it's better than an Auburn one. I'm get an Alabama degree, and I'm going to go win a national championship 2 out of the 3 years I'm playing, and get a degree there, and then I'll have a better chance at the NFL. So in the short term, I like it. In the long term, if that's how you're trying to draw kids to maybe not consider college and go to the USFL, I'm not sure that's as much of a draw as you might think it is. But I like the idea. I like the premise. I like the drawing power of giving kids, and I say kids, but even though they're adults, they're younger than I am, giving kids that opportunity to get a college education that they might have skipped out on, believing an agent and going to the NFL or trying their luck, somewhere else.
Yeah, I just like incentivizing people. I like benefits. We got a better benefits package. Belmont State, we're going to get through this. Belmont,
sorry, we're expanding on things because I have so many ideas about this. It's good. That's good. So,
I'm just helping you. Yeah, I'm good, but I'll talk forever. Belmont Stakes is moving to Fox Sports, 8-year deal. We're looking at this. We're looking at online, sports betting, USFL, all these things. Fox, listener Seth, they thinks, this is more fuel on the fire, that Fox really has a lot of ammunition to make this work. again, it's not the league building though that we want. They're like, we have a TV show, we have coaches, we have football, right? But like all the people that are wanting to see the USFL want that league building. Fox is like, no, but we're going to have sports betting with horse racing and with football and with fantasy. Like we don't need all that other stuff. But it is good that they're getting the,
Very true.
Did you see these logos real quick? Just these North-South logos. I'm going to put them on the thing. That they took the time to tweet those out. This is our North Division logo. It's an N and an S.
That's pretty. Graphic design is my passion.
I mean,
it's so basic.
Yeah.
Y'all some basic bitches over there at the USFL. I'm telling you.
Before we move on from the USFL, listener Max and I put together this list tonight.
I saw you tweeted it out. Yeah, I was like, Jesus, Reid's got a point.
So, and I am supportive of all these leagues, except, I'm teasing. But today, this is what we, right now, you're like, Reid, Paul, what do we still need to learn about the USFL before April 16th? Confirmation of the host city of Birmingham. 4 more of the coaches, 3 more of the coaches. Who the players are, what the players are getting paid, what the coaches are getting paid, how long the contracts are for, what does the non-compete look like, what are the COVID protocols for players, staff, and fans, dates, times, and networks for games, international broadcasters, if any, commentators, are they on the radio, how's the player selection process going to work, do the team front office personnel get hired, coaching staff, who's the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, etc., who's doing the stats, who's doing the insurance, what are the rules, what are the referees doing, uniforms, sponsors, fantasy football partners. If we have missed anything, please let me know. That is the list on my Twitter that we currently don't know about the USFL.
That's a lot of stuff that they need to iron out.
But we have 4.5, 5 head coaches.
Wow. All right.
Do you want to take a break? Go into XFL. Do we have time?
Let's just go into XFL. Okay. Let's roll through it. Why not? Danny Garcia tweeting 365 days away from training camp. The Rock is sharing a video. Somebody on Twitter is probably talking bad about that. And then the XFL Instagram and Twitter shared the video as well. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, So we are 365 days away from training camp. It's going to be January 3rd, Tuesday, according to Danny's tweets. Just a really funny story. Paul, the XFL shop is down right now, and it's password protected. So there's kind of been an ongoing thing. Listener Jake Henry, a lot of people, we've been like trying different passwords, right? Like, Mexico. We're going to talk about Mexico coming up. Like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, right? Whatever passwords you would think of. Like, what is the XFL locking the shop by? Right? Is it password 1 2 3? So Jake Henry today tweets out, he goes, they took away the enter password box. Like they must be getting ready to launch the shop. And someone went on there and they go, no, they literally went into the code and hid it on the website because they were so sick and tired of people entering wrong passwords. Because I'm sure they were getting some sort of like error message.
Guarantee. Yeah, that seems about right.
And so we're like, how many times did Jake Henry try to enter the passwords on the shop? Crazy. Okay, so the big news about this is, in the title of the episode, XFL's International Love. So the XFL posted, they had the controller job posted last week. We reported that's the money person for the XFL. Listener Seth discovered a new job on Indeed. It is for a tickets operations post. And what is interesting about this, it's the senior director of ticket operations talking about building, managing the league's ticket operations, all that stuff. Overseeing technology and operations for the league teams and venues domestically and internationally.
Internationally.
Yeah. And so we'll continue going down here. But so that's point kind of A, keeping that there. And Mark said that piqued a lot of people's interest, right? We've rumored Mexico City. Mike Mitchell has said that on the podcast, Mexico City, Toronto, London. The XFL has also closed, at least what I've seen, closed down the controller job opening because it showed like how many applicants they had, and it had like 70. So I imagine they were like, we got enough. But point 2 of this story is that the XFL has filed. Mark saw and that they had filed in Canada too, but I think that was like an older trademark because the games were on TSN and all of that. But they have, as of November, filed a trademark to sell merchandise, broadcast services in Mexico, and it was filed November 18th, 2021.
Interesting. Do you think they're looking to put a team in Toronto?
Are you talking Mexico or Toronto?
Both.
Well, to me seems more like pointing to Mexico long term.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying what I do. Mike Mitchell even said on the thing, he goes, I think it's really weird that you would sell merchandise in the country with no team.
Unless they were already going to put a team there.
Well, and so, because I said, so my tweet was, so the whole story behind this was, we're going through all the Washington football stuff and everyone's trying to figure out, is it the Commanders, the Admirals, whatever. So Josh Gruden, who's a lawyer, posted, he goes, the trademark is probably applied already in a country that shares with the U.S. because they're all in like a pact.
Okay.
And he said, the U.S. is public. Anyone in the U.S., we own the Markcast trademark. So people could search the Markcast and they would say, Reid and Paul own this. But so clearly, right, if you're the Washington football team, you don't want them to know that it's going to be the Washington stupid team name or whatever, because it's not it should be the Red Wolves. So you're going to go trademark that in Malaysia or whatever, the sister thing, and then you can transfer it in because they're all connected. So so again, listener Jake Henry got on, and that's how we discovered all this, was just because he's like, well, I'm going to go search other countries right now. I never even thought about that. So we found these, and it seems weird that it's November, that they applied for this in November for broadcast, which obviously you're going to air games, but then clothing and scarves and hats and all that other stuff.
Would they apply for this if they didn't already have a deal in place, or maybe they're in talks with a deal for Mexico?
Yeah, I mean, it costs no money to apply. I mean, and obviously people like you and I know they were like, oh, this is no big, you can apply for this, it's no big deal, right? But it just seems weird. It seems weird that you would do that. I feel better about Mexico than I do Canada, with kind of everything else going on, right? A lot of hostility up north, not as much down south.
On the note of the XFL, we talked about Hugh Jackson earlier, former Browns head coach, and we said that he might have been they might have scapegoated Todd Haley when they should have probably got rid of Hugh Jackson. That's who I was thinking about. Since he's the new head coach at Grambling State University, big job. Eddie Robinson was there for years and years, and a legendary coach at Grambling State. Hugh Jackson's their new head coach, and he's happy there. He is not going to the XFL.
But the point is that the XFL had reached out, that they're already, where we just learned 5 head coaches today for the USFL, one of which the paper might have signed today. I mean, we don't, Gene Chitsky, I can't say that, Chiswick. I mean, this guy, XFL is already recruiting these coaches. Now, the other thought we saw in the thing tonight is, because the XFL, we're presuming, February, whatever, for an arbitrary reason for the coaches. Are they waiting until the NFL Red Monday, whatever they call it, where they fire all the coaches? And then is the XFL going to see, if Matt Nagy gets let go, is Matt Nagy going to the XFL?
Well, he's going to be let go anyway.
But that's what I'm saying. Are we seeing Matt Rule? Is Matt Rule going to be coaching the Dragons?
Oh, God. If Matt Rule coaches the Dragons, you might need to change teams. You know he's going to screw it up.
But I'm just saying, do you think that the XFL might be waiting to see which NFL coaches are available this year?
Yeah, that's fair. Let the USFL shoot their load in hiring these retreads. I'm not saying Mike Riley's a retread, nor is Todd Haley. Kevin Rumlin definitely is. Let the USFL make their mistakes by hiring people like Kevin, and then hire the good people that are left over and going, okay, well, we're going to bring in, I mean, Mike Nagy and Rule aren't really good coaches, but they would be
big
better
name.
than the big name. They'd be better than some of the coaches that the XFL brought in last time. I mean, Bob Stoops is good. That was a good hire.
Jim Zorn.
Negotiable.
June Jones,
good coach. Probably a little bit of a retread at that point.
Yeah.
And then you get people like.
Well, Pepe
I don't want to see Jamie Elizondo back in the XFL.
Well, he was the OC because it was under Trestman. But he was a CFL guy too.
And I'm worried that they'll look at his pedigree now. Oh, he's a head coach. Let's bring him in. I don't want to see him in the XFL. I think that he's a toxic coach. You want to bring him on and talk about it? We can.
I'd love to talk to Coach Elizondo.
We could just start off by saying, "Hey, Coach, do you know the reason Reid isn't an Elks fan right now is because some of the culture that you contributed to, Coach Elizondo." Okay, just gonna throw it out there.
Speaking of which, Derek Dennis is confirmed to come on the show here in a couple of weeks. Speaking of Edmonton and the culture, so anyway,
speaking of the CFL, we're gonna take a break. We're gonna talk to Reid's gonna talk to Vernon Adams, basically his neighbor. We found that out. We're going to talk to Vernon Adams Jr., quarterback for the Montreal Alouettes. Then we're going to come back and we're going to talk more CFL since we're already heading that way with the Vernon Adams interview. That's coming up right after this.
Well, this is a long way to go to talk to someone that's probably about 20 miles from me right now, but we have Vernon Adams with the Montreal Alouettes. How are you doing today?
Man, I'm good, man. Thank you for having me.
I had no idea we were talking. I assumed you were in California, somewhere else. He said, "No, I'm down in Tacoma." I said, "I could have just driven to your house, but this is fun." Nice get, huge get. We're excited. These are all things I've heard this week, right? Since we announced you were coming on, I think people just want to know, how's everything going? How is life? How is the holidays? How is everything?
Yeah, man. Like I said, man, just thank you for having me on. First of all, shout out to everybody who sent in questions and things like that, man. Life's good, man. I'm in the CFL for everybody who don't know. I'm still in the CFL, going on my 7th year with Montreal. But it's good, man. Going into the off season, I just signed an extension a few weeks ago till 2023. So just excited to get my arm back stronger. I broke my arm last year, non-throwing shoulder, and I'm just rehabbing it and just getting it better every single day.
Yeah, and it just works out. We have some good Alouettes news we'll talk about that luckily all kind of came out before we got on today. But, holidays good, life's good, family, everyone else. How is it going outside of football for you?
Oh, yeah, outside of football, everything's all good, man. Got the family, the kiddos, wifey. Just got back from California, visited my family down there, spent my birthday and New Year's down there. So yeah, that was good, man. We blessed, man, and just trying to do what we need to do to stay safe and stay out the way.
Yeah, and talking about your shoulder and everything, obviously, tracking everything and the season last year. What was it like to have to kind of, go out? It felt like Montreal obviously, continued, to find success. And I want to talk about that too. But, having to not be able to play, right? Have to be able to sit out like that. What was that like personally for you?
Yeah, it's tough, man. As a competitor, everybody wants to be out there and make plays and help their team however they can. You know what I'm saying? And I could have went a different way about it. I could have got hurt and, let the depression sneak in on me and could have went back home and just kind of lost focus on the season, but I chose a different approach, just stay around and help the younger quarterbacks. As most people know, Trevor Harris, a veteran quarterback, Grey Cup champion, came in and did what he was supposed to do, lead through the rest of the season and pick up the younger guys. And I learned from him as well. So yeah, I chose that approach to stay in Montreal and just still be a voice, a leader off the field, you know what I'm saying, and help any way I can, because I know if I would have got away from it, like I said, I would have let the depression sneak up on me and it would have just been bad. Guys get hurt and things happen all the time mentally.
Yeah, because you're such one of the faces of the franchise, right, and one of the strong leaders. Doing the TV interviews, right, reporters, things. It's when you go down, it's like, oh my God, it's like break glass in case of emergency kind of situations. What did you make of Trevor Harris coming in and the guys, the rest of the guys on the team, carrying it as far as you guys did to the semifinals?
Right. Trevor, he's a very experienced leader, he always did the right things, man. Obviously, as quarterbacks, we're always in early and late. And, I was just always watching him. He came in right away. He didn't wait to try to step into that leadership role. He knew he was coming in to be a leader and just to help this team out as much as he can. And he didn't overstep any boundaries or do anything like that, man. He just showed me a different way how to prepare. I've had Hall of Fame quarterbacks above me before, but no one has really grabbed me and said, "Hey, VA, this is how you do it. This is how you do it." And that's when we want to get into AC, Anthony Calvillo. I think he's going to help me a lot with that. But Trevor, I kind of watched him and saw how he watched film. I saw how he prepared. I saw how he lifted weights and took care of his body and took a few of those things away from his game. And I'm going to bring it to mine next year.
What's cool about the CFL is kind of that, right? We saw the same thing. Bo Levi, got hurt, right? But you'd see him, on the sidelines with Jake Mayer, with the clipboard, talking, taking notes. Because it would, like you said, be really easy just to step out, or I'm done, or I'm going to not, deal with this right now. And I just think it speaks a lot for the character of the players, right? Like you, and then also just the camaraderie you guys all have, kind of just going through everything the CFL is.
Yeah, definitely. And then, my players on the team, they know I care about them more than anything, man. I do events outside of football, where I bring all the players together, whether it's let's go eat, let's go to bowling alley, let's fly in to Seattle and have a little mini camp, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I take care of my guys offensively and defensively, and they know that. And I think that's where they respect me as well, because I guess most QBs don't really do that. They don't really connect with the defense and stuff like that. I want to bring everybody together, and just our locker room is fun. It's funny like any other locker room. And I think it's just about respect. They respect me. I respect them. And I'm always determined to earn that respect each year.
Going through the re-signing, right? Getting the extension, here going into next season, with CFL, it's so uncertain, right? A lot of these players and the quarterbacks and all this stuff. What does it mean, for the franchise and the team to say, you're our guy. We believe in you. We're going forward. How does that feel?
It feels amazing, man, to just have a team that wants you, you know what I'm saying, and trust you. And honestly, I've never really had this feeling up until last year when I signed my first big contract. And, it just motivates me to keep working hard for the city of Montreal to really just try to bring back that ultimate goal, which is the Grey Cup. You know what I'm saying? So, I love Montreal for they was the first team to give me a real professional shot. And I just want to keep getting better each year, man, learning from different guys, different players, different coaches, legendary people. And I want to elevate my game, man. I want to be a Grey Cup winning QB. I want to be a Hall of Fame QB.
Yeah. I want to talk about your journey, and we have a question later. We'll play about that too. But, looking up, because we've tracked you all year, but looking up your backstory, no idea you went to Eastern, right? Which I went to Gonzaga, right down the street. We didn't have football. And then, especially going to University of Oregon, my mother is a huge Ducks fan because, there was never a football
Ducks,
team.
Baby.
But going through this journey, here, this long world we go in to end up talking to people that are 20 miles away. But talk about your journey and getting to that point now where you are anointed, the face of the 2022 Alouettes moving forward.
Right. And I think everyone who's really followed my career, they know I wouldn't change my journey for anything, man. I love the ups and downs about it. I love just everything that it took. I'm one of the shorter quarterbacks. I think I'm like the second shortest quarterback behind Kyler Murray in all of pro football, and they've always told me, no, you can't do it. You can't do it. You're too short. Then Russell Wilson came out, then I came out after him. And now you see short Johnny Manziel, Baker, guys that are shorter getting chances, you know what I'm saying? So it's awesome to see. And, obviously, as an American, everybody's dream is to be in the NFL, NBA. But I'm playing pro football, man. I'm taking care of my family. I'm a starter. I'm loving life, man. If the NFL came, then okay, cool. It had to be the right opportunity and right everything. Because right now I'll be knocking on 30, turning 30 next year. So I love where I'm at, man. I love the CFL, and it's a fun game. It's different.
Playing at the University of Oregon, what was that like? I mean, obviously now, and we have, quarterbacks coming out. I mean, it's becoming known, right, as a destination. What was that like as part of your steppings?
Oh man, going to Oregon from Eastern was crazy. And even Oregon to now, like Oregon is just on another level. Like it's like a professional facility, just new uniforms every game, just whatever you think Oregon is 10 times better. Like, cause that's how it was on my visit. I went to Oregon. I'm like, oh, it is what it. I'm just looking at everything, and it's just amazing, man. The fans, just Phil Knight, just the community, everything. It's just great.
Coming back off the off season, right? Obviously the year off, and with everything going on, getting everyone back together, getting back on the field. What was that like, and what was it like having to take that time off?
Man, it was exciting. Everybody missed each other, and we was ready to get back on that field and to have fun together. But it was difficult at times too, because some of the players didn't play for 2-3 years, you know what I'm saying? Maybe 4 years, you know, so some guys had to get their legs back. Some guys didn't get their legs back until middle of the season, and then they hit the ground running, you know what I'm saying? So it was tough. Being away from your receivers for a few years, you know, we had a couple mini camps, but you still got to have that chemistry and things like that. And it was tough, but I think everyone will say it was a down year for the offenses this year. But what I was really excited about the Montreal, our offense, was we were pretty much in first place in all categories, you know, during the season and ending the season. But the only thing is that doesn't translate to wins. And so for us, we need to translate that to wins. And so we keep our fans happy and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, right, we have these big announcements coming out. I had seen the reports, right, that Anthony Cavill was coming in as they call it, right, the pivots coach, right, in the Seattle. We're learning this. But as the QB coach, right, legend of the game, right, you know, multiple Grey Cups, all that. What was your reaction, and what does that mean to you?
It's exciting, man, to have a Hall of Famer, 3-time Grey Cup winning champion. He's a legend in Montreal, you know what I'm saying? It's exciting to have him back. And some people don't know, I had him as my QB coach my rookie year. My rookie year, he was my QB coach. And then second year, I think OC, and he was the head coach for a minute, I think. But that was like his rookie year as a coach. You know what I'm saying? So he was still learning how to translate from player to coach and things like that. But now he's 7 years out, you know, and I'm just excited to see his growth, and I'm excited for him to expand my play, just get me better. You know what I'm saying? To get me to taking that next step to, you know, I want to get to that Bo Levi. I want to get up there, you know what I'm saying? To get on that pedestal. So I'm just excited to work with him and him to elevate my game.
I mean, I would take it as a huge compliment that all this, you know, to bring in tools and coaches and things to help propel. I mean, to me, that would speak a lot to, right, we're going for this, and they have belief in you. I would be over the moon about that, thinking someone with that much expertise was coming in to kind of help elevate what is already, right, a good position they have going.
Absolutely. Like his resume, man, it speaks for itself. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't think I could have learned from a better one. You know what I'm saying? And he's a CFL guy. It's not like we're bringing in an NFL guy to kind of like, yeah, obviously, but he's a CFL guy. He's played the game. He knows the game. He knows how to read defenses and the weak spots and things like that. So I'm just excited to, you know, get on the phone with him and get this thing rolling.
We also saw Jeff Reinbold, right, had announced that he was, stepping out from the Ticats, and there was, I speculated, are we going south, right? We're announcing USFL coaches today as we're talking about all this. Announced that he's going to the Alouettes, I assume, as the special teams. Although the note I saw just said that they were bringing them into the team. But talk about that and bringing in Coach Reinbold. And do you have any past experiences with him?
That's a great get, man. I was in training camp with Hamilton in 2018, just for training camp. And he's just a great dude, man. He's a great dude. Every time I seen him in when we played these guys, I always shook his hand. And I just love the way he does things. His special teams group is always one of the best, especially these last few years. Always one of the best, man. So I'm just excited for him to get over here and coach up our guys, man, and limit some penalties and get some big returns with our guys. And, yeah, let's do it. I'm excited.
It seems like, we have a team like Edmonton, Coach Jones is out here announcing, we have like a new Nick Arbuckle deal, all these things, teams that really maybe need some more offseason work, where Montreal, right, was almost there, right? Now we flip a couple switches. It seems like they're really making the big push here to be competitive, at least, from the outside I'm seeing here in 2022.
Yeah, exactly, man. We want to put the best foot forward each year, man. I'm a winner, man. I've never in my life had a losing record in my life as a starting quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So I don't like that losing stuff. I don't like that 7-7, that tied. I don't like that. And I want the best coaches, the best players. I want the best people around me who want to win, man. Our owner, he's a winner. Our head coach is a winner. GM, president, all these guys are winners. When we're putting the people into place, we going to be good, man. Everybody, some people are saying this and that, or we got to win right now. It takes a building process. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what we're getting to. We're getting the right people around. We got the foundation set with pretty much the offensive guys that have all been here for the last few years. We're just ready to get this thing going, man.
I'm excited. We have a couple of voicemails here from some of our listeners, and we'll see. This might spur in a little bit of conversation. The first one here is from Jason.
Hi, Reid and Paul. This is Jason from Hussey's Huddle on YouTube. Vernon, I'm such a big fan of your game. My question for you is, what was the hardest part of your journey to becoming a full-time CFL starter? I know it took you a while to get your feet under you in the CFL, and I'm just curious how that journey was for you.
Yeah, Jason. My journey's been crazy, man. My first 3 years, I was traded, 3 times within my first 3 years. But each of those years, I was in Montreal at some point. So that's why I tell people I'm in Montreal for 7 years. But the reason why I was traded a lot was because I wasn't a pro quarterback. I wasn't coming in early, staying late. I wasn't doing all the proper things I was supposed to be doing as a pro quarterback should be. I was more acting like just an athlete or a wide receiver coming in whenever, just not saying the wide receivers do this, but I'm just saying just coming in, just whatever, doing whatever and not really being focused. And so that's why I got traded around. But teams knew that I had the talent, but they knew I just wasn't ready up here. So that's why I didn't really get cut. I just got traded around. But the journey's been crazy, man. I'm glad I came to Montreal for my last stop. Yeah. And, my GM back then, Reid, told me, hey, man, this might be your last shot. So I would really take it serious. And that's when I really, in 2018, took it serious and took that next step.
It's good. Well, they talk about it all the time. And, people, we get these kids drafted out of college, and it's not just the skills. It's everything. It's the mental, it's the physical, it's the person. I mean, we are different people at 21 than we are at, 29 than I am, and it's weird, like we see, the Trevor Lawrences and everything now. And it's like weird. That's asking a lot of someone coming out of college to say, here you go, run the team.
Exactly. And that's why I used to be real critical of rookies in the NFL and like those first round rookies and stuff until after my rookie year in Montreal. And I was like, wow, like it's a lot going on that I need to know. Hot reads, coverages, different things, checks here, just more than just playing football. This isn't college anymore. In college at Eastern Washington, I was the best player. Myself and Cooper Kupp were the best players on the field. We just played. But once you get to the pro level, you know what I'm saying, and you need to start getting it up here.
I think Evan here has a question about Cooper Kupp, so I think that's a good segue. Man.
This is a question for Vernon Adams, big play VA. The great Montreal Alouettes quarterback that has made it onto this podcast, and I'm so happy about that. But my question for you is, how is it playing with Cooper Kupp? Because I know you guys were together at Eastern Washington. I don't know how long you guys were playing together for, because I know, you, I think, left in 2015, and then he stayed until 2016, if I'm not mistaken. But obviously, Cooper's developed now into one of the best receivers in the NFL. I'm a huge Rams fan, so, I couldn't be happier for him. But I just wanted to hear, from you what it was like playing with him, what you learned from him, just anything you want to say about him, because I'm very interested to hear about it. All right, man. This is a
big Rams fan, big Cooper. I had no idea Cooper Kupp went to Eastern too. See, I'm learning all of that. So, what was it like playing with Cooper Kupp?
Oh man, first of all, everything that's happening to Coop right now is very deserving and earned. He works harder than anybody in the building, man. I was with him his redshirt year, then his freshman and sophomore year. So those 3 years I was with him, I got to see him work and blossom into the guy that he is today. He came in $160, $170, you know what I'm saying? Little guy, but he was always working hard. He had 3 All-American receivers above him as he was redshirt, and he would just come to work every single day, like come to practice every single day and just get better, man. He used to get better, compete all the time, man. If he lost a one-on-one rep, which I've only saw like 3 times in his 3 years being there, he told the corner to get back on the line, and I'm doing the same route. He'd be like, VA, let's go. I'm doing the same route. Get back on the line. And then he'll beat him. Like, it was just crazy, man. He's a top competitor. He's a Christian, man. He's just a great dude, man. And I loved playing with him. He made me look better than what I am. Man, I say it all the time. And just great dude, man. Yeah.
That's good. We got 2 more. We got one from T-Bone here.
Hey, Vernon. What's something you've always wanted people to know about you, but you never had the chance to share because nobody ever asked?
There you go.
That's a great question.
That's
I don't really,
yeah.
I know, I don't really have much, man. I'm really low key, man. I like to be to myself. I'm a family dude, man. I don't have much, man. I'm super low. I just hang out at the house. I go work out, come hang with the fam, take a couple naps throughout the day, and that's it, man. I'm low key. Yeah.
No big, no divulging any lifelong secrets here.
Yeah. Nothing crazy.
Last one's from Kyle. Kyle's one of our longest listening fans, and Kyle is also a huge Alouettes. He's won prizes. I've had to figure out how to ship things to Montreal. So Kyle's a good guy.
Awesome.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Reid, Paul, Happy New Year. 2021 was great. 2022 is going to be a bang. Definitely starting off with a kick having VA on the show. So, hey, Vernon, I got a question for you. I'm a Montrealer, actually, and I've been following obviously the Alouettes since they've been back, since 96. And, I'd say we got really lucky with the quarterbacks that we had, whether it was Tracy Ham, most recently, Anthony Calvillo. What a great tenure that we had with Anthony as our lead quarterback. We had some amazing seasons, multiple Grey Cups. But even if, they didn't actually win the Grey Cup, there was plenty of winning seasons, where it was a blast being at Stade Percival and, just being around the team. It was great, So my question for you is this, VA. How does it feel, to come in and, be the quarterback after such a successful tenure with the QB? What's that pressure like, and how does that feel, So anyways, thanks for your time. Let us know.
And even more pressure now with that QB being in the same room with you. It works out.
I love the pressure. I've always said it. I heard it from my Coach Junior Adams, who's now at Oregon. He always told me pressure is a privilege, man. Not everybody deserves this pressure. Not everybody gets this opportunity to be in this spotlight of pressure. You know what I'm saying? So I love it. I know what they did. I know what those quarterbacks have done. And all I want to do is do my best to try to equal it or do better. You know what I'm saying? I'm not them. I'm my own quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's different. You know what I'm saying? You got to think the talent level was different back then as well. So everybody's different, but I'm working to be where he's at. And now I'm glad he's with me to help me get to where he's at. You know what I'm saying? So there's pressure, but you got to embrace it. And I embrace it every time, man. And I'm blessed, man. Yeah.
Well, good. Well, Vernon, I guess I'm kind of my neighbor now, as we've discovered today. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I mean it a lot. I think it's exciting things for the Alouettes. For you, it just feels like a lot of good, green arrows here pointing up. So I really appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, man. Thank y'all for finally having me. I've been watching y'all for a minute too. So fans on Twitter and stuff like that. So yeah, thank you for having me, man. God bless. Happy New Year to everybody. And I appreciate the opportunity.
Welcome back to the show. Thanks to Vernon Adams for chatting with Reid. I'm still kind of coming down off being angry about this whole Kevin Rumlin thing. Like it's seriously bothering me that anybody gives him another chance.
I was saying, we were saying in the break. I mean, that's not a break, but in our fake edit break, that might have been one of the best segments Paul ever did. If you think that was one of the, well, I mean, but if you agree, give a thumbs up, give Paul some kudos in the chat. I thought that was a good rant. I had
a little bit of hot take there going on. I was throwing out some flames, so to speak. So yeah, cool. CFL news now. Stelco Holdings. I'm going to say Stelco Holdings. I don't think if there's an extra E in there. Stelco Holdings has executed agreements with the current owners of the Hamilton Sports Group for 40% purchase in the Hamilton Tiger Cats and Forge FC, apparently.
Forge FC, and then the lease of Tim Hortons Field. This is good. I mean, Bob Young had kind of come in, he had kind of rescued the team from bankruptcy back, years ago. And, Bob's getting older in age. This is a good way for Bob, I think, to transition out. Bob is still the majority owner right now. They said this is an overdue union of two Hamilton icons with Stelco's 110 plus year history and the Ticats' own history dating back 150 years. It's just, I think, years now, Bob's going to start stepping back, until he's no longer, which is fine. I mean, he's the caretaker, but Bob even said, I watched they did a really nice Zoom announcement with him. Imagine if he could have done that on the podcast, we would have asked him that has been trying to get him to come on. But he said like, I wanted to be the caretaker, but like ultimately I want to be a fan. Like he's like, I'm a fan of this team and I want to go back to being able to be a fan of the team, which I really respect. And I think that Bob came across tremendous with all this. I think it was good.
I like the idea of him, returning to his fan status. And it feels like he was doing the CFL a favor by taking care of this team. Is that a fair conclusion we can draw at this point?
Yeah, I mean, he calls himself the caretaker lovingly. That he kind of rescued this team and has built it back up. And the Hamiltons they're
a power
right now.
They're a power. Yeah. Returning to Calgary next year, the mayor, Jake Mayer, is coming back to the Stamps.
Yeah, so this is breaking news. We have a lot of Calgary stuff. I think Danny Austin's coming on next week. I think I've got all this lined up. Danny's been covering the Flames getting spanked by the Florida Panthers this week. It was like really not good. But I think he's going to come on because we have a lot of stuff we're talking about. Jake Mayer is returning. I am a big Jake Mayer guy. I have not lived through the last, half a decade of the Bo Levi Mitchell love. I know that Bo Levi Mitchell is a, perennial CFL favorite. Everyone loves Bo. I know Jake because Bo wasn't that great this season and people know our story. Anyway, and then Bo is kind of in this whole like contract renegotiation where he's due $100,000 bonus. And they're, January 15th is when he's due to collect this because he signed this 4-year deal back in February. So they're trying to figure out, we have Jake Mayer, right? We've re-signed him. He's the young rookie. And then we have Bo Levi Mitchell that's due all this money. And then we've just signed Tommy Stevens, an American quarterback. So it's like, what do we have going on here? You see that? We have 3, like, that's a lot of quarterbacks here.
The writing seems to be on the wall for Bo Levi.
Yes.
The writing's on the wall for him. If I'm Bo Levi, I'm calling my agent and being like, hey, can you get me a trade? Can you get me a trade? Can you get me out of this?
I saw someone hypothesize Bo Levi to Toronto.
I would definitely sign up for that.
Would you take Bo Levi as your franchise quarterback?
Well, I mean, they're only down to what? McLeod.
We have McLeod. You have McLeod. I would take McLeod as and I have a story coming up here about Michael Riley.
A healthy Bo Levi Mitchell might be an upgrade.
Whoa, hot take. That might be hotter than the giving someone.
Might be an upgrade. Might. I'm saying might. I mean, look. His win-loss record. Bo Levi Mitchell's won 84 games in the time that he's been under snap. 84. He's only lost 22 games. Tied twice. He wins, what's the percentage of that? He wins
25% of the time.
He wins more than 75% of the time. He takes snaps under center. That's not a bad thing to do. That might not be a bad thing to do.
Do you know anything about Tommy Stevens, 7th round selection by the New Orleans in 2020?
I don't know.
This seems like the big thing, bringing up the American. I think he is kind of training. I mean, I don't know. I mean, do we want that? What did the Saints have in 2020? Right? What is he competing against? Jameis and Taysom
in New Orleans in 2020?
Yeah,
he was still competing with Drew.
But Drew was Taysom was there because Jameis was still in Tampa.
Taysom, no, Jameis was in.
Jameis was in Tampa. Was he in 2020?
In 2020?
Yeah.
No.
With he's had 2. Yeah, because he
was already in.
He spent 2 years there.
He was already in.
So so that's what I'm saying. So if Tommy couldn't beat out Jameis or Taysom is not even a quarterback. Tommy, he's not. Taysom Hill is not a quarterback.
Not really. No. He's a wildcat quarterback. Yeah. We can call him that. Yeah. No, he's not a quarterback. And Jameis isn't much of a quarterback either. Jameis steals crab legs, but he doesn't quarterback really well.
I don't know that story.
Speaking of the Saints, that's another thing I'm thinking now is like the Saints need a quarterback, and there's chatter that this weekend is going to be the last time that Russell and Pete are going to be together. Are the Saints going to throw their future draft? And because the Seahawks need draft picks,
yes,
right? They made a bad decision by getting Jamal Adams. Yes. So can the Saints throw their draft picks to try to get Russell Wilson finish out his career in New Orleans? That's an upgrade from Jameis. That's an upgrade from Taysom. They've got a better offensive line. Russell Wilson on the Saints would excite any New Orleans fan.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that's in the camp too. I know that Superfan Van that we've had for, number one fan Van, asked me what I thought about Russell's answer today. And Russell's like, I want to win plenty of Super Bowls here in Seattle. That was a political answer. Yeah. He is, he cares about how he's viewed in the community. He's giving a political answer, but make no mistake, one of these two people, if not both, will not be in Seattle in the next 2 months. Maybe not next 2 months, but by the time the season starts, either Russell or Pete or maybe both of them will be gone. And my money's on Russell still.
Oh, totally. Well, Pete's on that. He has a big contract right now. So Alouettes had a couple news bits. I've talked with Vernon about this because obviously these affected Vernon quite a bit. It worked out good timing-wise. And so Anthony Cavillo, he is like the legendary Montreal quarterback. He took them to 8 Grey Cups, won 3. And then Jeff Reinbold. Jeff had tweeted this week that he was stepping down from the Ticats special teams. There's been some, was it because of that whole 1 point? Remember they gave up the point. We're still talking about the 1 point and all that. But anyway, but I think this is like huge for Vernon. You bring in this legendary quarterback, to work with him as the coach. They call him the pivots coach up there in the CFL. And then Jeff Reinbold. I mean, Alouettes are really making a push here to be very, very competitive next year. I mean, to me,
they were almost there. They were almost there.
Yeah, with a backup Trevor Harris traded quarterback midseason. I mean, this to me is good, really good stuff for the Alouettes.
Yep. The Elks have redone the contract of quarterback Nick Arbuckle, who was originally signed for 2022 under the previous GM. It's the same salary, but it includes $100,000 for a signing bonus. 1 year deal.
Well, it's interesting because they've re-signed him, right? Because the previous GM, but then we have Chris Jones here saying like, we still need to find a quarterback. Like I'm talking to guys with NFL experience. He basically like Chris Jones really isn't sold on Nick Arbuckle. And I don't know if Nick Arbuckle is long for the Elks. He said, we're going to look at what we have first. I just got off the phone with a guy about 2 quarterbacks that are on the streets, one of them with NFL background and one of them without. This is the interesting thing, Paul, that gives me pause. Last time Jones was in Edmonton, his quarterback was Michael Riley, Paul. And apparently there is stuff going on the West Coast right now. And if Michael Riley goes to Edmonton to end his career, which would make sense, all that. But if Michael Riley leaves me to go to Edmonton, that is going to be dark times.
It would be. Especially since you left Edmonton to come to BC.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, Riley went from Edmonton. I mean, it's all, it's like, I get it, but I'm just saying selfishly, I would be sad about that.
Chris Jones starting to bulletin board material already.
Yeah.
He doesn't see Cody Fajardo as a passer. You know what's going to happen is Cody Fajardo is going to open up a can of whoop ass on the Elks one time and throw for like 400 flipping yards. And then maybe you'll see him as a passer, Chris.
Yeah, I thought that was good. Last thing here, and then we have just a couple quick voice notes before we go. Did you see the Blue Bombers on The Simpsons?
I didn't. I saw the photo, but I didn't see what.
Yeah, the Springfield Adams dominated their opponents 42-3, and then it
would never happen.
Well, and then it was Adam Schefter's like their visiting team was quitting. They're going to go try their luck in the Canadian Football League. But here's the thing: CFL fans are like, oh, that's so funny. Look, it's like they're making fun of you.
Yeah, like when we joke about, when we're not even joking about you, we're not making fun of you. We're not like to your, we're not berating you. We're not downplaying you. But when we make comments about like the viability of your league and where commentary show that like covers things from a perspective of opinion, but we still cover things journalistically. When we do it critically and honestly, without like malice, we get flamed. So why don't you guys hate The Simpsons? Because they did it with malice. They were making fun of you.
A couple quick voice notes here before we go, and then we'll get out of here. This is good.
So, based off the coaching announcements by the USFL, who do you think has the best team just by having the coaches so far?
That's listener Zach. Zach, make sure you say your name next time so we can. But that is.
I could tell it was Zach. Again, it's got to be Riley. Riley's the right guy right now
for the Generals.
With Gene Chiswick being close second, not even close second, but just a second.
We have one from. I don't think Steve has left a voicemail before. This one's a little lengthy, but we'll get there.
We're good.
Hey, Paul and Reid. Happy New Year. I think it's going to be a big one for you guys between the CFL, XFL, and USFL. I'm hoping for more, as Reid would put it, jam-packed episodes. Something I'd like to comment on. when you had your show with Mike Mitchell, who is, in my opinion, somebody you should do maybe a monthly special episodes with because he's so great and knowledgeable, is, of course, lots of talks about using this league as a jumping pad to get to the NFL. And I know you guys will understand is that I think it should also be known that it is okay if your career peaks in these leagues. It's okay to be a Zach Caleros, a Vernon Adams, or to Paul's distaste, Jeremiah Mazzoli. Having legends
He knows all his stuff
in your league is great for marketing and should be greatly celebrated, in my opinion. Best of luck in the New Year's, guys, and go Bombers go. 2-peat, baby.
Whoa, Steve, watch it.
Is it 2-peat or is it 3-peat?
Well, they would want a 3-peat now. Yeah, now they would want.
It would be a 3-peat now. So.
What do you think of? I mean, that it's and we talked with Vernon about that, right? Like, Vernon's worked really hard. He's really content, like in the CFL, right? I mean, when you give up that, like, well, I'm not going to go there. Like, I'm happy here. I'm happy being the whale in the pond.
There are a lot of people that are comfortable with that.
Yeah,
a lot of people are comfortable with that. I mean, I personally, for me, like the biggest amount of growth you can do is when you step outside your comfort zone. And I that's a cliche. I know it's a cliche, but at the same time, it's so accurate because, like, in terms of like my career moves, like coming to LA, like the biggest amount of growth happened when I got here. You know, if you've already been to the show and you just want to like end on your own terms and end winning, and you're just like, man, it'd be great to win a championship. And you might not get a chance. Like, let's just say, what's the worst NFL team right now? What's the worst NFL team?
Or the Lions.
Jaguars. Okay, let's just say the Lions.
They could be the number one pick 2 years in a row. The Jaguars could be.
Right. So let's just say the Jaguars. Do you want to be the starting quarterback for the Jaguars, or do you want to be the starting quarterback for, say, Hamilton, and potentially be in the running to win a Grey Cup, win a championship? And you're like 32, 33 years old. What would you want to do?
Well, NFL pays more. That's the problem.
True, but let's just say that you're not going to be the starting quarterback at the Jaguars.
Yeah, when
you're the starting quarterback for Hamilton.
Well, that's why. Like, I think PJ Walker, if I was PJ Walker, I would like to be a star in the XFL than be the third or second string quarterback in Carolina.
Is he even that? Because it seems
like
they're going to pull someone in randomly instead of playing PJ, because Matt Rule doesn't know what the flip he's doing there.
Yeah.
We should when Matt Rule gets fired, because not if, it's when Matt Rule gets fired, we should bring Sheena on to talk about it.
Okay, we'll get Sheena
and ask what went wrong and why didn't he rely on PJ more.
Here's the last one. I don't think Dan's left a voicemail either. Again, the markcast.com/voicemail. These are great, but I don't think Dan or Steve has left one before.
I really enjoyed your latest Markcast. That was great, talking about the USFL and the XFL and the fan controlled football and the CFL. Is really good stuff.
Thank you,
My
man.
question is, what about and it's speaking to your guests, comment about opportunities for everyone. What about the MLFB? How is that going? Do they have money? Are they actually going to be able to play after all these years? And any other leagues that might be coming up? For example, the MLF as opposed to the MLFB, or are those just pipe dreams? I know the MLFB is actually publicly traded, so it's not a pipe dream, but they're not going to get off the ground if they don't have 50 mil at least. So anyway, that's my thought. Let me know what you guys think.
Thanks, Dan.
You have a comment on this.
I do, yeah. So MLFB actually tweeted, I believe it was yesterday, the official account, because there was some confusion on this because a fake account was tweeting last week, but this was the verified, MLFB. They shared today that this week that they have a $5 million fund. I wrote it down here. It was a $5 million equity purchase term sheet to fund the 2022 season. Fox has committed $50 million to the USFL this year. They are 100 days away, and we are very concerned at the lack of information we have. Same with Fan Control Football. I would be even more concerned with MLFB with $5 million, and we know nothing about them right now playing this year.
Right? Like, I couldn't have said it better.
But I mean, that's just so that like again, if I was rolling, I would roll with fan control football honestly before I would go with MLFB or MLF or anything. But I mean that like they're going to put a product on the field this year. We don't know and all that what they're going to pay, but I do think if fan control football, I would trust a lot more than MLFB right now.
Yeah, MLFB had a major issues both in terms of financial. I mean, and to that point, like USFL has some, I know Fox is bankrolling it. I understand all of that, but they still do have that cloud. They still will until they pull off a successful season without any issues whatsoever, paying everybody, feeding everybody, doing everything they're saying they're doing. They have to fill those commitments. And then all of a sudden people start forgetting about what happened in the spring league both times now. Because there's two things now that we've been around to see. So it'll be interesting to see. And as much as we crap on the FCF here, Reid is right. We do suspect they, that's a more sure thing right now is FCF.
Even though Sarab, the owner, is tweeting screenshots of their video game, which has field goals in it, even though they are a league that's
so ridiculous.
Sarab tweets. He tweeted screenshots of like it's like the beta. I'm sure they're just like assets that they're using, but I'm like, you are a league that famously doesn't kick the football. Why are there field goal posts in your video game?
Very fair question.
That's the thing. Like fan control football, vote on the plays, no kicking. I'm done. I'm sorry.
Maybe they're going to add kicking this time. Maybe they're going to add kicking. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for joining us again. Great episode, jam-packed episode. Want to again thank Vernon Adams Jr. for his time talking to Reid. You guys should go grab some drinks sometime, some frothy beverages. If he drinks, I don't know.
He's like,
maybe not.
Just down the road, just down
right down the street, right down the street from you. And I want to thank him for joining us. And again, subscribe to our podcast, share it out to your friends, anybody you think would like it. We appreciate all your listeners. Of course, we got giveaways coming up. We hit that 2,000 mark. We'll start giving some more items away. Until then, please subscribe, share the podcast, leave a voicemail. All these different ways to get in touch with the boys. Of course, we're always active on Twitter. Reid sends me every single tweet he tweets out. It's, sometimes I'm in the middle of work. I'm like, another tweet from Reid. Cool. But you know what I'm saying? Like we're very interactive with our fans, with the listeners. And not saying our fans, we're saying fans of the CFL, fans of the XFL, fans of the USFL. We're always interactive. We're always here to take your questions, and please reach out to us by any means. And we appreciate all of you. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.